My name is Jordan Tomas. I'm the creative director at the 2K Marin studio and of Bioshock 2.
So I guess we should just start off by saying what the setting is of Bioshock 2 and what's going on, where the player will be playing through.
Sure. Bioshock 2 takes place in Rapture. 10 years have passed since the events of the first game. It is an underwater utopia founded by a guy called Andrew Ryan, who is trying to free the best and brightest of the world from law and God, and in so doing bring about the ascent of man. Things didn't work out, though. And in Bioshock 2, the player takes the role of a big daddy, somebody, a sort of armored bodyguard in a diving suit who was once enslaved to the city, but somebody has now cut him off of his leash, and he's crossing Rapture to find his former little sister. And along the way, he comes into conflict with Dr. Sophia Lamb, our villain.
What kind of changes have there been in Rapture with the kind of transition between Ryan and Lamb?
Well, I guess there are a few. The player will first encounter the splicers, who have had 10 years to mutate and continue to alter their DNA with Adam. And there are also new big daddies being built to protect the new little sisters. And then on the sort of philosophical side, you will see echoes of Sophia Lamb's philosophy in the splicers. She is a philosopher at heart, but is using all of the tools of faith to make sure that the splicers serve her.
So obviously it's different this time around playing as a big daddy. How does that change the gameplay of Bioshock 2?
First and foremost, the player is not just any big daddy, but one of the eldest that has been freed from his conditioning and is thus able to use plasmids, the kind of genetic superpowers that live in his left hand. He's able to dual wield heavy weapons in one hand and plasmids in the other. And then, secondly, his relationship with the little sisters who carry the Atom has changed quite a lot. He can adopt them and carry them on his shoulders, and the two have become like a partnership. Ultimately, he makes a choice about their fate in a way that other big daddies can't.
So I know that the sequence in the original Bioshock where you became a big daddy towards the end of the game, a lot of people had a problem with that because the vision was obscured, you were a lot slower.
Yeah.
Was it a kind of a desire to just kind of push that idea further and make you just a more kind of agile and a better version of that? Is that what kind of drove this decision to make the Big Daddy the main character?
Not really. I looked at the Big Daddy-little sister relationship and felt like there was a human story there of a father and a daughter, essentially, that wanted to be given additional dimensionality in Bioshock 2. So the player being the sort of powerful, masculine protector figure, but who has the ability to take the trust granted to him by the more vulnerable character and decide what to do with it, felt like fertile ground for a new moral context.
So let's talk about the new enemies in the game. I mean, the Brute Splicer was the one that really kind of stood out. Can you talk a bit more about him and how you'll be kind of taking him?
Well, Rapture is a much more dangerous place in Bioshock 2. Even as a big daddy, the player is constantly fighting to survive. The post-human ecosystem of Rapture is informed by this genetic material, Adam. And some of these guys are far, far from human now. They are apex predators that sit up there and are turning themselves truly into monsters. The Brute Splicer is one such.
You talked earlier there about the narrative, and I mean the thing that really made Bioshock stand out was the story. So what lengths have you gone to in Bioshock 2 to make sure that it lives up to the original?
Well, I guess it's sort of twofold. On the moral side of things, we wanted to gray it up as much as possible. The player's role, essentially as a father, adds a new dimension to his interactions with the little sisters. Beyond that, with some of the unspliced characters that you meet along the way, adult characters who are much more sort of morally questionable, your choices related to them affect the story's outcome as well. And so the goal was a kind of moral vertigo.
This is kind of an area that isn't really being explored in video games at all. Do you think that games like Bioshock and Bioshock 2 are going to kind of usher in a new era of people actually paying attention to the story in games?
Well, that's an area where I'm very biased, right? Sure. So I think Bioshock is part of an important legacy. Lots of different types of games that have tried to spin together the action of a shooter and the character potentiality of an RPG and the sort of narrative payload of a more grown-up story, maybe coming from a different medium. I hope there are more games like that come to be. You know, gamers are growing up.
Thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us. The game looks amazing. Can't wait for it to come out.
Oh, likewise. Thank you very much.
Don't let him get me, Daddy!
Like all I have done, this is an act of love.